Hi everybody, this is Dr. Ahmad from London Aesthetics and Regenerative Centre. I'm here today in our centre in Harley Street and I would like to talk a bit about hair loss and the non-surgical treatments that are available for hair loss. We're not going to be discussing the surgical treatments such as hair transplant. Now, before we start, let me tell you a bit about the hair. There's two parts of the scalp. This is known as your permanent zone. This is known as your temporary zone. And when we tend to lose hair, we will tend to lose it from the temporary zone. That's why when we transplant hair, we take it from the back, from the permanent zone and put it into your temporary zone. And the idea is, you've got about 100 to 150,000 hair. So, what we want to do is, so you've got about 50 to 75,000 hair here, 50 to 75,000 hair here. So it's very important to maintain your follicles as much as possible, because when we do a transplant, which is the end stage of when no non-surgical hair rejuvenation can work, we're transplanting about 5 to 6,000 hairs. Now, if you've got 50 to 75,000 hairs here, and say you've lost about 10, 15,000, 20,000 through the natural causes of hair loss, then when you do transplant a hair, it's only going to have 5 to 6,000 hairs. So, just from a common sense perspective, preserving 35 to 40,000 hairs that are left, will that give you a more density, more coverage, or putting in 5,000 naturally? So, to sum up how the hair works, in essence, in summary, there are lots of stages of hair loss, but we will sum it down to 4 stages. 1, you have a normal follicle. A follicle is what produces the hair with normal hair. Number 2, you have a weak or diseased follicle. And what this does is, this produces thin hair. Stage 3 is when you have a weak or diseased follicle, which produces no hair. And stage 4 is when you have no follicles, it's gone, and you have no hair. Now, there are lots of stages in between this, but in summary, from your perspective, that's what you need to know. And what we're trying to do is prevent the hair from reaching the last stage where there's no follicle or no hair, because at that point, you need a transplant. Now, when we are assessing hair loss, we have to look at what's possibly caused the hair loss. Is it been a gradual loss and thinning of the hair? Has it been an abrupt hair loss? When we are looking at hair loss, we look at, the pattern of hair loss. Has it fallen out gradually or abruptly? Has it been generalized thinning? Do we think it's going to regrow on its own? Do we think that we're going to need to do some treatments to help it regrow? And do we have to do something immediately to stop permanent hair loss? Now, there are many different causes of hair loss. And what we want to do is try and identify the cause. The most common one being is hereditary, where there's male pattern hair loss, where we lose it from the hairlines and on the crown area. There's also female pattern hair loss, which tends to be just a generalized diffuse thinning everywhere across the hair. Another important factor in hair loss is age. And as we age, the follicles age and they sort of become old and don't want to produce hair as well. Now, with hereditary hair loss or age-related hair loss, with treatments, it is reversible. Other causes of hair loss include stress, whether it's death of a loved one, whether it's divorce, financial difficulties. They do cause imbalances in life and they will cause you to lose hair. Prolonged recovery after an operation, prolonged illnesses, even a few months after childbirth, you will notice the hair starting to fall out. We then have hormonal imbalances as well, especially in females. We have something called Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which is PCOS. We also have the use of the birth control pill. Usually when these things are, when the PCOS is corrected or the birth control pill is stopped, these problems sort of tend to, the hair loss does stop. Another important condition for both men and women is the presence of thyroid disease. And again, once that's controlled, further hair fall will then be stopped. Now, in all the conditions that I've mentioned, once you stop the trigger factor, the hair is actually thinned or it's become lost, you can do treatments to help regrow that hair and get your hair back. And it's not difficult to get hair back because the hair follicles are still alive. Even after chemotherapy and cancer, it causes your hair to fall out. But when you stop the chemotherapy, the hair will start to come back. Another important cause of hair loss is infections. So whether it's a scalp infection or whether it's an STD, which are sexually transmitted disease, these can cause hair loss as well. Some inflammatory conditions such as psoriasis of the scalp, dermatitis of the scalp will cause hair loss as well. Again, once treated, this condition is reversible. We also have a condition known as alopecia areata, where you have an autoimmune response in the body against your own hair follicles, causing it to lose hair. We also have a condition known as alopecia circata, which is scarring alopecia, which is caused by scarring due to inflammation of the follicles, etc. Again, if caught on time, both these conditions with treatment can reverse the hair loss and can cause regrowth of your hair. Some of the other factors to consider are probably if you have a pulling hairstyle, people that tie their hair back will constantly traumatize the follicle, tends to pull it back. And hair care, people do soft colours, they do perms, they straighten their hair. These things all do damage the follicles. So these are the various different causes of hair loss. And if there's something in there that you can control, we suggest you do that. And if there's something that needs investigating, we can investigate that. But the beauty is all these conditions listed can, with treatment, be reversed. So what treatments are available for hair loss? Well, here at London Aesthetics and Regenerative Centre, we are at the forefront of research, and we use evidence-based medicine with scientifically backed studies that back the results. And we like to focus on combination therapies. Everybody's heard of PRP. PRP stands for platelet-rich plasma, where we isolate the growth factors, re-inject those growth factors back into the scalp to give the follicles some extra nutrition, to give the follicles some trigger factors to stimulate regrowth and to cause reversal of the disease process. Another very important treatment is carboxytherapy. Carboxytherapy stimulates new blood vessel formation. It is a treatment which involves infusion of small amounts of carbon dioxide gas into the scalp, and what that stimulates is it stimulates the body to produce new blood vessels. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. So oxygen comes into the lungs, goes into the bloodstream, up to the scalp, we offload the oxygen, we put on CO2, we take it back into the body, off the lungs, and we breathe it out. So we inhale oxygen in and we exhale carbon dioxide out. So when we inject CO2, we raise the CO2 levels of the body, and the human body is very clever. It sees this, so it sends off an increased blood supply to pick up the CO2. But guess what? We've been losing our blood supply as we've been getting older or through the disease process. So the blood's not able to get there quick enough. So what the human body does is it's very clever. It stimulates a process called angiogenesis, which is new blood vessel formation. Now, if you give something a new blood supply, what happens to it? It comes back to life. Yes, absolutely, it comes back to life. So carboxytherapy on its own or in conjunction with PRP is an absolutely amazing therapy, giving literally mind-blowing results. And what we've seen is we've seen people that have tried PRP before. PRP is another treatment which is used in non-surgical hair rejuvenation. And with PRP, it stands for platelet-rich plasma. So that means if there's PRP, there's platelet-rich plasma, there's PPP, platelet-poor plasma. And in the platelet-rich plasma, what happens is we extract growth factors which attach themselves to the platelets, which are then extracted from the blood and injected back into the scalp. And it's like putting growth factors into the scalp. It's like feeding the hair follicles, giving them nutrition, trying to stop the disease process. PRP can be of different qualities. Taking a simple blood sample involves taking a blood sample. So a simple blood sample, processed in a centrifuge. The plasma is isolated. The top part is PPP, the bottom part is PRP. You take the bottom PRP, you take it in a syringe and you inject it. The platelet count is about 125, 150,000. If you use a kit or a specialised tube, when you're spinning it around, you can actually get a platelet count of 350,000, which gives you a higher platelet count because it's geared to attract the platelets into the bottom part of the tube. It has various factors in there. And if you're very clever, you can actually use some of the more advanced ultra kits, and these can give you platelet counts up to 2.9 million. So the quality of the PRP is very, very important. It's not just about taking blood and spinning it, it's using the correct quality kit to enhance the results for a maximum output of your treatment. Another treatment which has taken the non-surgical hair rejuvenation by storm is exosome from stem cells therapy. Exosomes are small vesicles, and these are the messengers of stem cells. And in that, they have RNA, and when we inject exosomes into the scalp, the cell wall of the exosome fuses with the cell wall of the hair follicle and transfers its RNA. The RNA is like the reprogramming the old disease hair follicle cell to say you are no longer old and diseased, you're young and healthy again. And lo and behold, the follicle changes its nature and starts to grow hair. One of the first clinics here to start practicing exosomes therapy, amazing results. So depending on your requirement, we have everything possible in the world's most advanced treatments for non-surgical hair revision, which include PRP, carboxytherapy, and exosome therapy. Thank you very much for following us. Please like our channel and subscribe to our channel. For each of these treatments, I will give you a more in-depth analysis of how each of these treatments works and the benefits of having each of these, but that will be in a subsequent video. Thank you very much. Hi everybody, this is I'll give you a more density, more coverage, or putting in 5,000 naturally. So to sum up how the hair works, in essence, in summary, there are lots of stages of hair.